Anyways, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for the week, Nodes Protocol, and they are a Web3 financial suite that offers an innovative approach to money markets with a novel lease solution to develop the DeFi space further. And the opportunities that this can have for users is that from the borrower standpoint, the individual can access loans that are under collateralized with financing up to 150%. And that fact from the borrower's perspective is that they would still have access to all of their funds. So be sure to follow Noah's protocol right under the description bar. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Okay, Mr. Producer, am I good to go? Am I good to go, brother? Just give me a thumbs up when I can give, okay. All right. Okay. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. My name is Wabi. I want to welcome you on to this educational space, and we're here joined by special guests and co-hosts for today's episode, Anker and Ankr Staking, and also, as usual, we have Dow Chemist. Shout out to Dow for for pulling up to these spaces and contributing to these conversations. And we're also joined by the biz dev individual from the Davos Protocol team. And I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor of Crypto World Radio, Knowledge Protocol. They're a non-custodial crypto lending app that have unique features for borrowers, and they offer loans that are under collateralized with financing up to 150% without the risk of liquidation through its lease solution. And for our special guest today, guys, we have the opportunity to learn more about Ankr, their blockchain infrastructure provider that is doing some cool things in the decentralized computing services, and they offer a wide range of services, including computing, as I said, storage, databases that are going to enable devs and data aggregators to build and deploy all of their dApps. And additionally, Ankr is also doing some stuff in the cross-chain interoperability space with their Ankr bridge solution, which is going to be allowing for fast, secure, and efficient transfer of assets between different blockchain networks. As you guys have seen throughout the last year, one thing that has to be stressed for the next business cycle in the digital asset space is bridge security, as we've seen some of the exploits. And they have some pretty cool stuff like their Ankr app chain configurator, which devs can customize and deploy their own networks on the Ankr platform. So we're here joined by Diogo and the individual from Ankr Staking, and we're going to go through what they're doing in the liquid staking derivative space and all things of the like. So want to welcome you guys, and if you guys can, feel free to retweet the space. The live link for the spaces is up on the nest. It should be the first slide. But as usual, this space is going to be uploaded onto our YouTube and all that stuff. So I guess we can get started. How are you guys doing today?
All good on my side. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. Like I love to be on the Twitter Spaces with both of you guys, both Dow Chemist and you, King Wabi. I've had the pleasure to be on some previous ones with you guys. Looking forward to this. Like you literally said, a pretty good explanation about both infrastructure and the DeFi side. Of course, we have the Ankr staking side here as well, which can then better explain what we're doing on the liquid staking side. But on the infra side, we're literally focused on RPCs, advanced APIs, gaming SDKs, and app chains. But I would say mostly, I think. Some pretty good narratives and some things on which we really excel are the RPCs and the app chains. Regarding uptime, latency, that's one thing that we do in a very good way for RPCs, and then app chains. That's one thing that we've been developing with some partners as well. The most recent one would be also Polygon Supernets. But apart from that, once again, thank you so much. And I'll just pass the word to the rest of the guys.
Awesome, brother. And for the individual behind Ankr Staking, how are you doing today, brother? Good to have you as our co-host.
Hey there, how you guys doing? It's always good to see familiar faces again. So currently I'm the business developer for DeFi side of Anker. So I'm Thiago. Basically, currently we have a variety of different liquid staking offering. We have around 200 million TVL. with Ethereum, BNB, and basically, users can stake their Ethereum or the BNB or the Matic or the Phantom and basically get access to the staking rewards. However, basically, we also issue a token that basically allows users to use that Ethereum or that BNB that is generating a yield, but they can also use that on other DeFi product platforms and allow them to have a little bit of more DeFi composability there and try to get an extra yield on their assets. So yeah, we, as you mentioned previously, we are really developing a cross-chain bridge. Soon, I think what the narrative that Anker is really trying to push is definitely this omni-chain liquid staking experience where users can stake and unstake their assets in any chain possible. And of course, we need to have our own bridge that is designed specifically just for these tasks. And become, of course, the most liquid staking operator in the market with our flash and staking. But yeah, I'm sure I'll have the opportunity to further discuss that. So yeah, thanks for having me again. And it's always a pleasure.
No doubt, no doubt. And the man himself, Dow Chemist, my brother. Always holding it down with me on these spaces. How are you doing today, man? God bless you for showing up, man.
Great, man. I appreciate that. Hey, good morning, guys. I'm excited to be here. For those who don't know me, I'm a full-time DeFi farmer or DGen, depending on the day. But yeah, it's great to have projects like Anker to spend the time to actually like break down what they're working on. Whether it's liquid staking, whether it's RPC, anything that touch on Web3 infrastructure, I think Anker has been providing a lot of value there for years. So excited to be here.
Awesome, man. So I guess we can get started. Diego, if you want to go into the origin of Ankr, feel free to do so. Unless you want to dive into the more recent things that have been happening, brother.
Yeah, let me just so on the meanwhile, Lawrence actually joined in with his personal account, so I'll just let him.
Gosh, I did not see that. I did not see that. Because it was like I didn't even see his mic. I thought he was still connecting. But
No, no worries.
Lawrence, welcome, brother. Welcome, brother. I'm sorry I didn't see you there, man. What's going on, bro? How you feeling, man? Good to have you up.
Hey there, gents. Pleasure to be here. Good to see you again. Really glad to be here. And thank you for the opportunity. Also good to see our partners, Anker, in here. So yeah, looking forward to it.
No problem, man. No problem. So Diogo, I guess like the first thing that I'll ask, instead of going into the origin story, so I'll just touch upon like the statement that I gave at the beginning. So I know Anker provides things like decentralized computing services, including storage and databases. So I'd love to know, since like data infrastructure is so pivotal to the digital asset space, right? So could you elaborate on how Anker ensures things like data security and privacy in a wild environment, sort of like the wild west in the crypto space? We can start off like that.
Touching on the RPC side of the company, which is what we're really known for. I would say that in terms of security, decentralization, and the way we literally cover most of the world, it's one of our biggest strengths, and that actually provides the quality of service that we currently do and we're known for regarding at times in speed for our endpoints across more than 30 networks. Is literally the quality of our servers across the world, because we have a really big network of big data centers on which we provide to like both nodes and validators and anyone that wants to use such to both provide or actually take usage of our RPCs can use. So like on that side, like we are pretty strong since the early beginning in 2017, and then we furthermore developed it with like ensuring that these databases and these locations for our servers are actually being well controlled, well secured by we have plenty of partners that ensure the security of such services such as the RPCs. And apart from that, we have the enterprise solutions as well, on which we work with bigger companies. So enterprises that also this is a pivotal point for them as well. Like the specific question, security. So this is actually a very like big concern, like from our end, not only like on infrastructure but also on the DeFi side, security by either auditing or having constant monitoring, 24/7 monitoring of what's going on our networks, our uptime, the accessibility that our users have to specific methods and endpoints. So this was always a big concern, and will for sure continue to be. But right now we're pretty happy to be in such position on these specific products, and seeing that app chains is pushing forward so well, as well as being so widely adopted, and having like partners like Polygon backing us out, and actually partnering up with us for these specific products that will for sure bring much more scalability to Web3. I think it's a big aspect that I think we should be proud of.
Thanks, man. A lot of interesting points that you touched upon there, man. So regarding the app chain, configurator, I understand that that's gonna enable devs to deploy their own custom blockchain network, as you were saying with the app chains. So I want to know, how does that tool in specific gonna make it easier for devs to build and deploy dApps, and what kind of projects would be suited for this type of approach?
Well, pretty much any kind of project is can actually use our app chains, on which we provide these load balanced RPC endpoints that like actually enable developers to have as many full nodes as they would like. Like once again, coming back to the proximity matter of like the servers, in terms of like the regions that are closest to their users and such. This is pretty much applied to any kind of project that wants to use kind of easier way to deploy their own products by using our infrastructure. So and using our toolkits that are much easier, much faster to develop, and we actually provide all the base layout, all the foundations on which they can then furthermore, personalize.
Sick, man. And my next question follows up with the Ankr bridge. I know with the bridge, it's designed to facilitate all the cross-chain asset transfers. So, in specifically, right, with the Ankr bridge, how would that differ from other cross-chain solutions in the market as far as its unique features? Something like, I know we have Synapse, and we also have Stargate, but in specific, this would relate to the Ankr bridge.
Well, I'm gonna for this one. I think my brother from Anker taking
Yeah,
can actually answer.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I think we are not actually competing with all those bridges, because our focus is to serve our customers of liquid staking. So basically, the assets that you can bridge are actually just the liquid staking asset. So it won't be like any Bitcoin or random token that you want. It's designed specifically just to bridge, Anchor ETH, Anchor BNB, etc. I think that because we have like this being built specifically for this, I think like we have cool features in there, like the fact that there won't be like any like honeypots. It will basically allow for seamless and really cheap uh, bridging of these assets to any of the chains that we cover. So I think that is quite some benefits regarding this, but I iterate again that this will not be a bridge for much tokens. It will just be designed specifically for our liquid staking.
And speaking of liquid staking, man, I want to throw it over to Dow Chemist. He's been hosting a lot of those spaces. So, Dow, if you wanna bring up something to the team, man, in regards to that, I know you've recently been bringing some of the statements and questions from Eigenlayer onto some of these teams, man. So, if you want to have a go at it, stage is all yours, brother. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, and great description about what you guys are working on at Anchor. I think it's almost, if I'm not a developer, right, it's kind of hard to picture the vision for Anchor. So in my head, when I'm listening to you guys, like between the bridge, the RPC, the app chain, right, it seems like it's almost you guys are building the AWS of Web3, right? Where a developer can go for all the SDKs and APIs that they would need to build apps, right? Would that be a fair representation of vision for
Yeah,
Anker, like for someone who's not necessarily technical?
yeah, that's it.
100%. Yeah, yeah. I think it's like blockchain infrastructure, definitely, where with everything that requires for us to claim that.
Cool, cool. And I also see that you guys have enterprise solution. So I'd love to hear like what type of conversations you guys have and how maybe friendly or warm or let's say like traditional enterprise, like the Silicon Valley type of enterprise are to building on top of a Web3.
Well, we've been seeing, tons of interesting, although like usually on this kind of side of things, I cannot, share too much. But we've been seeing a lot of interest from their side. Actually, we were pretty proud of the amount of enterprise solutions that we're providing, the amount of personalized, node services such as RPCs that we actually deploy, and these enterprise solutions are meant to be extra personalized towards what are their needs, and in terms of not only pricing but also customer support, and all the customer experience is also very personalized on that side. We've been getting I'm literally ultra happy by the success we've been getting from multiple big companies that are actually enjoying our enterprise solutions and actually see us as you were saying as the AWS of Web3. As such, that's pretty good. I do get a feeling that most of the people, by going into the web and going through crypto Twitter, since like there's all this more technical conversation taking place about the infrastructure side, they don't really all of a sudden realize like what's Anchor role in Web3, especially like the quality of our products, and like what difference do they make specifically in enterprise solutions. But as soon as you get into the deep into the rabbit hole, I think people start to understand like you said, like we are the AWS of Web3, and the kind of foundational aspect that we provide not only to the retail side or to the smaller products, also to big institutions. I think that's something that people usually take a bit of time to actually learn, and that's something that on our side we're trying to make that a bit more understandable, easier to reach to that information, easier to like understand like what differentiates ourselves from other people in the industry regarding the quality of our services, and what kind of specifics do they need to look out for to actually understand and justify like how good we are, and actually to understand that what we're saying, what we're transmitting, what we want to share regarding our quality is actually true. So that comes from the educational side. Once again, it's a barrier that we not only on DeFi side have, but as of now, we are pretty happy with the enterprise solutions. Not only coming from Web3 space, but also from the Web2 space, which is pretty good. And I do tend to look at Anchor as like probably in terms of infrastructure, like probably one of the biggest companies right now onboarding Web2 companies into Web3. So like it's a pretty good time for us on that side.
That's exciting.
And if I,
I'll
yeah,
go for it.
if I can quickly add, like I think that the majority of people most likely are already using Anchor infrastructure without even knowing. For instance, Aave uses our RPCs, SushiSwap uses our RPCs. So maybe, if you interacted with Aave, you are inevitably using RPC technology from Anchor, right? And, I think in the recent times we have made partnerships with big names, as Diogo was saying, from Web2 as well, like, like Tencent, like Microsoft. And these are, really big names that we can say because they are public. Of course, we are working on other stuff. So, long story short, maybe you're already using Anchor infrastructure without even realizing, which is meaningful.
Yeah, you guys are selling the shovels, right? In the gold rush, before they made money, people that were selling the shovel, the actual infrastructure behind it. And my personal experience is I used to work for Wells Fargo in the innovation department. So the small team that used to work with the startup in Silicon Valley. And the way it worked was it was kind of slow, but we start a business cycle where they come up to the office and show us like a pilot with the APIs or SDK. We start playing around with like new technology, like how to add biometrics to a bank app, right? That was back in the days like 2014, 2015. I'm assuming that when it comes to the enterprise side, the same thing is going to happen, right? A lot of the progress that's happening, a lot of conversation that's happening, obviously, are private, and we can't really see the fruits of it. But it's good to know that the project like Anker having those conversations because as you point right, it's they're not necessarily gonna jump in and do everything right. They might start with staking, they might start with gaming, but once they have a foot inside the door, then it's a lot easier for them to feel comfortable playing in Web3 and having those access points or integration between their stack and then the Web3 stack. I think is super important. So I think what you guys are doing is very exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And you actually touched on a very good point on which, like, as soon as a user steps into one of the sides of the one of the services of the company, either being into RPCs, and then he ends up, all right, so I have the RPCs, so and then I actually want to develop a specific application. Now let me get to app chains. Oh, and by the way, if the guy enters by DeFi, actually, I'm actually developing an application into DeFi. Let me see how I can actually improve it, and how I can actually, even from a retail side, how can actually improve my, like, for example, my trading, or the way I interact with specific protocols and specific chains by either, they just go to RPCs and they add RPC to a specific network, for example. So like there's plenty of ways on users can actually cross interact with other services as soon as they enter the company in our service. So that's actually a very, very good topic. But I'll let Tiago continue if you want.
Wow, this is some very interesting conversation, man. Dow Chemist always bringing out the bangers in the conversation. I'm not sure if Premise is a speaker. Are you guys able to see him as a speaker, guys, by any chance?
No.
Okay. By the way, guys, Davos Protocol is a listener. I'm not sure if you guys want to bring him up or
Done.
if yeah, we can bring him up. We can bring him up. But yeah, I do have a follow up question with what you guys are talking about. So I know the concept of interoperability is becoming increasingly important as more of these networks emerge. Right, it seems like we have a new L1 almost every single quarter. Right, there's always this new life changing L1. Right, so I wanted to know, how do you guys approach cross chain interoperability, and what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced in this area? And also, like, with so many of these networks available, how do you guys decide which networks are supported through things like the Ankr bridge? And would you guys have any plans to expand the range of supported networks in the future?
Yeah, maybe I can go with that, and you help me out. I think that's a very it's a big question. It's a really, really big question. So first of all, I think like we can see cross-chain interoperability with different angles. For liquid staking, of course, it's our bridge, and the fact that we want to allow any user to stake and flash and stake their assets, doesn't matter where chain they are. And of course, this will be a really good example of what we can consider as a cross-chain bridge. Like in terms of next steps to expand, like definitely, like in the last couple of weeks, for instance, we just allowed users to have access to Anchor ETH on Phantom or Avalanche, and we are trying to expand for Arbitrum. On the Polygon side, we are also trying to see if it's the right move to go for the ZK Polygon. So it is true that sometimes it's hard because in the end of the day, you need to have a dev team that needs to needs time to develop and securely deploy these assets on all these chains. And sometimes definitely there are too many, right? Especially like ZK rollups. I think there's more ZK rollups than users at the moment. So for us, it's really hard to pick, and especially like I'll give you the example of Polygon, right? Currently, of course, and in the future, most likely everybody will go to ZK Polygon, but that's not a reality right now. So if we decide to spend, dev resources now to go to that chain, probably our liquidity will get fragmented without much users going on and actually going to use the products on ZK Polygon. So sometimes there's really tough decisions that we need to be made, but definitely we want to keep expanding not only our offering as the chains our liquid staking is available. So Arbitrum, for instance, it's one that we are working on. It should be dropping some alpha here. It should be working quite soon. So basically, users will have the opportunity to stake Anker, BNB, Ethereum, BNB, Matic, and etc. on Arbitrum, which is meaningful. Yeah, I think I touch your point on my side.
Awesome, man. I'd also like to know Davos Protocol's like developments as far as interoperability. I know you guys are doing a lot of cool things with stable coins and things of the like.
Yeah, sure. So I guess for those here who don't know, maybe DAO Chemist might be a bit of a fan. Basically, Davos Protocol makes use of liquid staking on users' collateral. So we run a 90-10 strategy, and 90% of that we stake, and then we accumulate these staking rewards along with the borrowing interest, and then we distribute that back to stakers and liquidity providers. So yeah, we see that as, I think, like a pretty scalable method and mostly sustainable, as I'm pretty sure everyone here knows that proof of stake obviously is the biggest source of yield in crypto, and one of the methods, if not the only way to access that, is through liquid staking. Right now, what we are working on is we're actually going to start accepting other forms of liquid staking tokens as collateral, and in the hopes of essentially becoming an omni-chain stablecoin, which I think is something that hasn't been done yet. And in order to do that, we're going to make use of a bridge system in which obviously we can mint and burn the coin across multiple blockchains. So yeah, that's, I guess, what we're trying to do.
Awesome, man. And the question that I wanted to throw at Anker in regards to more of their cloud computing solutions. So compared to the traditional cloud computing solutions, I'd like to know how it compares to things like in AWS and things like that. And are there any specific use cases where Anker's computing services are proven to be more effective than your traditional computing service?
Well, like I'm not really the most in-depth guy to talk about, like especially comparing to services coming from AWS regarding, like once again touching on the characteristics on which we evaluate the quality of the cloud computing and data requests and then data providing as well. But I would say that as of now, regarding what networks can do, and we are at the utmost best for like most of them. I do feel like the feedback that we've been getting from Web2 clients that are, like they've been in touch and then they've been using this kind of Web2 companies that actually are the same that we are, but on the Web2 world, and they do not see as much disparity as they would see as well. They wouldn't be expecting to see it, but they're quite happy with the transition and the quality of that keeps from Web2 to Web3 that we actually end up providing to this client. So I would say that overall the differences in like the data provision on our infrastructure side are actually not that different, and that we actually like we get pretty decent feedback. Like Thiago was saying, like probably you already have used our infrastructure side, especially our RPCs and such. We are I would say it's it's hard to compare both sides. But for the finality that we're looking to use our RPCs, I would say we can easily match what has been happening on the top-notch companies on Web2. That's for sure. Well, apart from the fact that we have pretty experienced people coming from Web2 companies, especially like similar business models. So I would say that we were pretty good on that side.
Awesome, man. And I guess we can touch upon like the stablecoin trilemma if you guys want to entertain that conversation. So, what do you guys think the future entails for stablecoins? Right, we all thought that USDC was going to be something that would never be touched, but as we saw a couple of months ago, it did depeg, for about 24 plus hours. And we all know the situation with Tether. So I want to know, as far as like the panel is concerned, how do you guys think the stablecoin solution is going to be resolved? And we can pass that over to Davos Protocol. I know that's a space that you guys held a couple of weeks ago, and would love to know what sort of solutions you guys would think that could be implemented in this market.
Yeah, good question. I think like as far as stable coins go, obviously you have your different types, and with those they each like face the various risks. One of that we saw obviously with USDC, and it turned out to have a bit of a contagion effect on DAI, which I think most people obviously maybe prior thought it was really centralized, but decentralized, but turns out their collateral is heavily centralized. I think like one thing that we at Davos are kind of looking at, which might be pretty interesting coming down the line, would be creating so-called inflation-proof stablecoins. I think with what's happening with the US dollar and inflation that could hit like the 10% mark, it might make more sense to provide users with something that doesn't essentially decrease in value, so to say, or purchasing power. So that might be an interesting, let's say, aspect that comes out of the stablecoin space. And then, yeah, as for us at Davos, we obviously have a big like narrative on liquid staking, and as I mentioned, we obviously make use of liquid staking now, where we run that strategy in the background. But for us in the foreseeable future would be to accommodate other protocols, liquid staking tokens, and go from there.
Awesome, man. And in regards to liquid staking, Dow Chemist, man, how do you see something like Eigenlayer contributing to the stablecoin trilemma and all things regarding security, not only for bridges but also for things like interoperability, right? I know more recently we had news that USDC is going to be launched natively on Cosmos. I know Eigenlayer and Cosmos are like two complete different things, but would love to know your thoughts on how something like Eigenlayer can work between the protocols on the stage at the moment.
Yeah, that's a great question. And just to add some context to that conversation, uh, liquid staking, I wanted to make sure, so I checked on DeFi Lemma / categories. It's the biggest category in terms of TVL, right? It has surpassed lending indexes. It has a combined TVL of 18 billion. And this is the early days of liquid staking because the Shanghai update only happened less than a month ago. So potentially, like the TVL will explode, right? So the base that Davos is using to create the stable coin, this liquid staking ecosystem, is only going to grow. So I think there's even like a name that they call LSDfi, which is basically like all the infrastructure around the concept of liquid staking derivatives is starting to grow. You have a project like Pendle, for example, that allow you to get the yield at a fixed rate or early, so you don't have to wait at the end of the year, or to get it progressively. You have other protocols that are building infrastructure for LSD. So I think that ecosystem is only blossoming. So yeah, it's hard not to keep an eye to like a project like Davos. But yes, you question Eigenlayer, I think is interesting for me. I'm super excited for Eigenlayer because I think I can't remember who said it, but there's a lot of apps that are leveraging other protocols, right? Like if you're using a DEX, for example, you're not just using things on Ethereum. You're also using like oracles, and your app is only as safe as your weakest point, right? And it's not to say anything bad about Chainlink, but obviously the security of Chainlink is not as strong as that of Ethereum. Just considering the number of validators that power Ethereum, right? So if you wanted to do like 51% attack, it would be a lot more costly than trying to do a similar attack on the Chainlink network. So Eigenlayer introduced this concept of restaking, of telling the validators, we'll give you extra yield on top of what you're getting for validating the network and MEV as well, in exchange of powering the security of a bridge, or powering the security of a oracle, or any type of module or middleware that would otherwise require its own network, can now use the concept of restaking, and Eigenlayer provide a marketplace for validators to say, hey, I'm willing to take the extra risk of getting slash by providing my ETH as security to this use case, right? So I think for LSD that's a no-brainer, that this is an interesting way to increase the yield. And potentially, this is probably a question for Anker and for Davos. There might be even more integration in terms of security or the other use case that we can't really think of. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys if restaking in general is something that you're looking at, or you're already working on, or just your thoughts in general.
But before that, I do want to announce that Eigenlayer mainnet will be launching soon, and I put that up on the nest. So go ahead, guys.
Like I can quickly, like, the truth is that we can't disclose much at the moment, but I would love to say that yes, we are aware of the restaking capabilities, and maybe we have something in place with Eigenlayer. Just saying this. Can't say more.
So I guess like I want to ask that to Davos. Do you guys believe that like something like stablecoins could benefit from an Eigenlayer service? Because from what I can tell from the developments from Sir Ram, it seems that like any L1 can just be deployed on top of Eigenlayer. And I mean, if we're entertaining something like Chainlink losing some of that monopoly as far as oracles and security, it begs the question, like, how does the future look like? And to me, it almost seems as if something like an Eigenlayer solution would take away the dilution from the market. Where when we think of something like L1s, or like staking derivatives, it could become really diluted at rapid fire, right? So with the last business cycle in crypto, we had the market be diluted by a bunch of DeFi protocols. Oh, hey, we offer a lot of yield as well. And oh, hey, we're an EVM chain, right? Like we have an airdrop. Come join our chain within our incentivized testnet. You get an airdrop, and then like it turns out that the majority of the TVL is the airdrop, and once that airdrop is sold off, people basically leave the chain. It becomes a ghost chain. So we also have things like the stablecoin issue, where stablecoins appeared out of nowhere after USDC came onto the market. I believe in 2018, right? We had TUSD. Now we have Justin Sun's stablecoin. So I wanted to know your guys' thoughts on a solution like Eigenlayer, for not only like what Dow Chemist said, taking away some of that market share and product market fit from Chainlink, but also helping out with things like the stablecoin trilemma as far as security goes. I think this is a good conversation to have. By the way, because I do think over the next 18 months we're going to be having like solutions that can help aid existing protocols in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, good question. Or comments, I guess, following that question. I think at the end of it, like the whole point of DeFi, and I think let's just say the world in general, right, is competition creates growth. And if you're able to launch a product that has actual utility, then in all favor of it. And I think that with Eigenlayer coming into the market, if you are going to take things away from Chainlink, then because you have a superior product, then I'm all for it. And how that turns out to benefit, let's say, stable coins, regarding security, I guess we'll just have to see. But again, I think competition stimulates growth, and with growth comes, again, more utility and better products for users, which is essentially the whole goal of DeFi, right?
Yeah, and if I quickly can add on that, and I know that I said I wouldn't talk about it, but I think that Eigenlayer is definitely one of those types of technologies that we don't even realize the potential of it. Maybe like, as you were saying, in 12 months, in 18 months, you will see like what are the true use cases that we might not even be thinking about. You don't even know what you don't know. And really, I think Eigenlayer is one of those types of technologies. Like definitely, for us in liquid staking, definitely the restaking side of it is a thing we are looking at the moment. But definitely, I think Eigenlayer is one of those techs that, you don't even know the full potential or the kind of stuff you can build on top of. So yeah, really excited, and let's see how it goes.
Awesome, man. I know you guys have an AMA. So for the people in the audience, I know Davos Protocol has an AMA with Polygon. So guys, make sure to follow Davos to keep up with what they're doing in the industry. And also, I know Ankr also has an AMA with Mantle, which is another layer too, which I believe doesn't really get much attention compared to something like Arbitrum or Optimism. But Diogo, can you give us like a brief, concise statement, and what makes Mantle different compared to like an Optimism or an Arbitrum? Because I know with Arbitrum, when you think of Arbitrum, you think of like the trading platforms, like you have your GMX, you have your Gains network, your Camelot, things like that. And when you think of Optimism, it's Velodrome, it's Quenta, it's synthetics, basically synthetics. So if you can tell us before we move on to our other shows, what are some of like the key differences?
Well, it's like something that is being dealt on, the infrastructure side with the lead on RPCs. But honestly, I cannot share too much information. I'm pretty sure they're gonna share it on the next AMA. I wasn't really the one leading the mental partnership, but I'm for sure we currently released an article on it, on where we go towards like what are the benefits from mental, and what are the benefits of Ankr providing RPCs on it. So if you guys want to check it out, it's currently posted on our blog and on mental blog as well. And of course, we're gonna have the AMA taking place like in 3 minutes, so I cannot really I cannot share much because I really need to go. But for sure, like please go ahead to our blog. We have like a pretty in-depth. That's one of our focus. Like putting everything on layman's terms. But for sure, do that. And but by the way, I want to thank you guys so much for having us here, King Wabi, and because Bitcoin. And also by the participation of the Alchemist and all these crazy questions. So like really want to appreciate all the efforts, all the freaking good technical questions that you guys made. Like I don't usually attend like spaces with like these specific questions that denotes your interest and like your knowledge on both infra and DeFi. So it's pretty great. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you guys. Thank you guys, man. And looking forward to having you guys on. Yeah, I think the concept of like a mega space would be pretty interesting. And of course, like you're very well versed in the way that you speak. And it was a pleasure having you. And for the individuals in the audience, please do us a favor and follow everyone on the speaker panel. Follow Anker, Anchor Staking, DAO, and Davos Protocol. And also, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, feel free to follow that giant yellow square because Bitcoin. Go ahead and as the YouTubers say it, go ahead and smash that follow button and turn on the notifications. Blah blah blah. Right. We're actually gonna be go ahead,
Yeah,
Diego. Go ahead.
that's spot on. That's super nice.
Yeah, man. I'll let you guys go now, man. Take care. God bless you, your family, and your friends. And I'm sure we'll connect later on, Diego. It was a pleasure hosting you. I hope you guys enjoyed your time and wish you guys a great time with your respective AMAs.
Likewise, brother. Let's.
Yes, thank you.
No problem, man. Looking forward to having you guys on. Hopefully during the summertime.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do more roundtables, and any help that you guys need from our side regarding DeFi protocols or infrastructure protocols, let us know. This goes both for you, King Wabi, and you, Dow Chemist. Let us know. We're here to help. We after all, we are Web3 and we are inclusive and we are here to help everyone. Yeah, just let us know. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Later. Mr. Producer, you can go ahead and we'll get started with market check. Just go ahead and send me the co-host invite and send Premise the co-host invite as well after Anchor Staking drops.
You down to make this meme focus, man? Why not? Pepe still running. Why we should title this something about memes: the Great Meme
Can you
War,
update the title
the
for me,
meme
Wabi?
debate.
I can't.
Yeah,
I'm not a co-host. Then you gotta make me a
yeah, yeah. Make Wabi co-host. He's good at creating titles to track that
yeah
attention. Let's run these memes, man.
yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, that was cool, dude. Like, um, if you guys don't know, Anchor was actually like one of the first products incubated by Binance as far as their IEO goes. So, I mean, that's eventually how you get like CZ up on a space as a special guest speaker, dude. Right?
Educate me real quick. IEO. Am I missing something, or do I know what that
So,
is? Let's educate the space.
Binance IEOs were something that started in early 2019, right? And basically, like, all you had to do was buy like some BNB, and then right when the timer ticked down, you were able to send your BNB, get your tokens immediately, and make a 15x. I am not even kidding you, bro. I'm not even kidding you. Like with Matic in 2019, people actually made like a 50x. Matic did like a 20x right out of IEO, and then did a 10x or like a 12x after that. So and there's always opportunity in the market, right? And I guess like this year's quote unquote IEO would be the banks failing, right? So instead of like money being raised by exchanges for new products, it would be like bank failures, and then like the crypto industry would find some way to create liquidity in some shape or fashion, right? And I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's probably like Pepe, right, and the airdrops and all that stuff. I'm assuming that that would be like this year's IEOs, right? We just make another leg higher, this, that, and the third. But
Proof,
yeah,
proof of
I'm gonna
Pepe.
go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and put the title of the space. Premise, if you want to contact Tommy in the meantime, so he can come on the stage and say,
Yeah, I'll reach out to him.
yeah. Give us 1 second, guys. We'll get started with market check. And Mr. Producer, once I change the title of the space, you can go ahead and reshare the spaces, saying that market check is well underway.
Dude, I am getting kind of fucking excited here. I'm about to buy some more Wojak. Oh, I'm degenning, dude. Slap me, Wobby. Stop me.
Wojak, dude. That's funny, man. That's funny, but oh my gosh, yo, did you guys see the WSB coin? They rugged the
Yeah,
Wall
they rug
Street
them. I
bets
think they rugged them
coin
twice.
rugged.
I think they
That's
rugged them twice, Wobby.
that's
I think it was
crazy,
twice.
dude. I gotta include that on the space, bro. Pepe spaces, Bitcoin price action.
I mean, this is important because we could teach people how to be safe in these memes, dude. People want a meme. I see it from everyone right now. Everyone feels like they missed out. So it is important conversation. You got to be careful.
Yeah. From all right, I changed it. Pepe spaces, WSB rug, and memes. Market check, Bitcoin price. Yeah, dude. So, do we get the conversation started, or do we wait for Snorlax and Max?
I shot him the message. I'm pretty sure they'll be coming up. It's up to you, big dog.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can like just talk amongst ourselves, just so it's like not an awkward room or anything like that. But yeah, Mr. Producer already shared the market check space, so I'm gonna go
Yeah, let's
ahead.
kick it off then.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and retweet that. I'm gonna put it up on the nest, and
guys. If y'all love what we're doing, you want to show some support, hit that like and retweet. It helps juice. It gets that algo out there. I promise you, it won't take you too much time. It can be done really simple, really easy. Please look out for us. We're trying to grow this thing. We love y'all.
yeah, I went ahead and put the link on the nest. Hmm. Um, Mr. Producer, what did Snorlax say? I'm confused on the context. Hold on, give me 1 second, guys.
He was saying there wasn't supposed to be one today. We could run it. I mean, we're up here. It's up to you. If producer wants to run it, I say we
Y-
run it. We got 50
Yeah,
people listening. People are here.
yeah. Okay, all right, man. So Snorlax won't be showing up, right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess it's just me and you, premise. Hagrid, if you want to come on up, if anyone wants to come on up, feel free to do
We got
so.
Alexandru down there. I know he's been killing some trades. I wonder has he been trading any Pepe and Wojak? Would love to hear from him.
I think everyone's been trading Pepe, man. You got to, man. It's so much fun. But hold on, give me 1 second. Uh, yeah, I'm lost, but we'll just talk amongst ourselves, man. But damn, yeah, premise. How are you seeing the equity markets, brother? I have not checked what the Nasdaq is doing at all. That's really the only thing that I pay attention to. The
Yeah,
Nas,
yeah, I haven't looked at none of that. You know, the big tech stocks are a little green today, man. You know, I've been hunting memes, dude. I ain't gonna lie. I kind of want to dive straight in and hear more about this Wall Street bets. If you could tell us who shielded, who do we not need to be following, and what were the warning signs? Those are the kind of things I'm looking for in
yeah,
this WSB coin, right? Like
yeah.
I didn't even hear about it until it was already rugging. Funny enough.
Yeah, so for the Wall Street Bets coin, I'll go ahead and put it up on the nest just so people can like see what was going on. It's from WSB Mod. He's just been like tweeting like crazy, dude. Just tweeting like crazy, and they got Zach XBT'd, and so the guy there that I posted up on the nest, ZJZ.eth, he was talking about like, oh, maybe next time we should be bad actors, right? And then like, this rug comes along he basically pulled the liquidity. Like, he was the largest holder, and then basically dumped like a large majority of the supply. And he got Zach XVT'd, and it went to zero. And as far as like who was shilling it, I mean, it's mainly all those like NFT influencers. And I even noticed like with Pepe, like people just came out of the woodwork and just started like talking about Pepe and hosting Pepe spaces. And some of the Pepe spaces are kind of like war rooms. Like, you say the wrong thing, and 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 it's basically like an episode of Jerry Springer. So I think it's like an excuse to like bash bulls and bears, right? This meme coin season feels like DeFi summer in a way, right? We've had Pepe, Wojak, Pizza, WSB, Jugs. Um, what's another one? I think that's off the top of my head. That's
Was there anything tied to jugs? Were we supposed to see some jugs if we own
I
jugs?
I don't I don't know, but I know like some of like the women in Web3 people were like promoting that in a way, and then of course like they dumped on their audience. And like that's the thing with like some of these NFT influencer spaces. They'll try to create their own brand and then use that branding to dump on their followers, right? With a meme coin that they created. And
I,
it's wild, man. It's wild to see that. Like, we're at a point
I,
now. Go ahead, go ahead.
well, I saw that the lady, what's her name, Baddies or something, that she even had a private message saying,
Yeah, Bitcoin
"Oh, all
baddies.
these people can f off. I'm about to buy a Gucci bag or something."
Yeah, dude, Bitcoin baddies. Oh man, yeah, that circle and spaces, like that community has always been not the best. It's always been not the best or the greatest. But
At some point, though, can is it really a rug? It's like, so you're in crypto because you believe you're in finance and you're trying to do that, and you followed a bunch of people whose promotion was were baddies, and you're surprised you got rug, right? There's some ownership to the people getting involved in these, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's expected. It's expected, but the market never learns, dude. Like, there's probably gonna be some like liquid staking derivative Ponzi um next cycle, right? And probably some like meme coin DeFi, honestly. And like, even with Pepe, like, just something in my gut tells me that this thing is basically the Matic of this year, right? So whatever Matic was in 2019, that's what Pepe is this year, where it basically does like over 100x, right? And when that thing corrects, it's gonna be brutal. But I'm not expecting like a large correction here, but everything goes through a correction. But whenever that correction does come, and even Dogecoin had a correction, I think Dogecoin from like peak, which was like 77 cents or something like that, like late 70s. I think that was the all-time high for Doge, and it corrected like 90%. So eventually Pepe will go through that. It's just a matter of like when, right? And it seems like everyone wants to like short this thing. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of these like quote unquote Pepe derivatives, um, they're just rugging. And now we're getting to a point where the memes that pumped hard alongside with Pepe are rugging. And typically, like, when you start seeing things rug left and right, there's usually a correction shortly after by the leader. But I'm so bullish, like, long term, on Pepe. It's just like, speaking about Pepe, I think it's like losing some of its energy, losing some of its steam. Because I do feel like we're at the top, 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 top. Like, we're at the top as far as social sentiment is going, right? Because when you have Pentoshi tweet about it and all these other large accounts tweet about it, it's like, as far as awareness, right? Like, who has not heard of it, right? So we're definitely peaked in that. And price action. I mean, dude, the trade changed my life, bro. In a lot of ways. So,
Yeah, I do want to get to that. I like that point you made that we're probably reaching towards the peak of sentiment. We still see the spaces are big and stuff, but I get what you're saying because I was in some other spaces. One guy comes in, he's like, "Man, I'm gonna block all these fucking Pepe guys." So we're now at the point where everyone who wants to get in from the social side, they're already here and they're pumping it. Everyone else is kind of hating it and trying to fade it. Wabi, does it need an exchange? Is CZ the next level? Is he the next guy for Pepe to get it on the next leg up?
I hope not. I hope not, bro. Because what the bull run taught me, bro, is that when it gets listed on Binance, that's the top, bro. That's the top. I remember when I was in like those metaverse plays, one of my biggest bags was PYR Vulcan Forged, and I remember when it got listed on Binance, it went from like $35 to 50, and it pulled back a bit. I'm like, okay, it'll probably retest its high, and it never did. It never retested its high. And like at the current moment, okay, it gets listed on Binance, but like, who cares? Anyone that's a Binance user probably already bought Pepe through Uniswap. Uniswap makes more money than Coinbase at the current moment through fees and all that stuff. And I think there was like, for a short period of time, more people were using Uniswap compared to Coinbase, right? Like the people that have survived the crypto onslaught in 2022, they're on Uniswap. Like, dude, why would I use KuCoin for what? Why would I use Binance for what? You know what I mean? I used Bybit, right? I used Bybit, but that was for like some leverage trading that I did over the summertime, and ever since then I haven't really touched leverage at all. I've only touched leverage a few times in my life. My first time using leverage was in August of 21. I had longed Solana when it listed on KuCoin, and I believe Solana was at like $40-ish or something like that. And I held that bitch until it crossed $100. Like, I held that thing, and it was exuberant, man. Like, after that trade, I kind of took some time off, and I think whenever you catch a large play, and Pepe for me was like one of the biggest plays of my life, I kind of have to step back a bit. I kind of have to step back a bit and focus on other areas of my life. I feel like if you're always trying to find the trade, if you're always trying to, find the next quick short scalp, quick long scalp, I mean, at least for me, it's not sustainable unless it's like, okay, let me go on today for 30 minutes or something and scalp a bit, right? But to be in front of your screen for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's a skill set. That's what I always say. It's a skill set to actually trade, right? Where you're like behind a screen for multiple hours, making chart patterns, looking at different pairs, all that stuff. It takes hours and hours, and to develop a skill, I believe it's like you need to have 10,000 hours under your belt to be a master of your craft, or at least someone above intermediate. It's 10,000 hours. And you're talking years and years and years, because I mean, if you're always trying to find a trade and you're not just like reflecting, writing things down, taking some time to yourself and meditating on the moves that you executed, are you really growing, or are you just beating yourself up? You know what I mean? um, so it's sort of like it's sort of like being it's sort of like, I guess the analogy I would make it is like being a boxer. Like, if you just punch a punching bag repeatedly and you don't work on your footwork, if you don't work on your technique, are you actually practicing, or are you just like, I guess in the trading aspect, clicking buttons? What exactly are you doing, right? So that's why for me, man, when it comes to quote unquote trading, I like playing easy mode. I don't like being in front of my screen for more than a few minutes at all, you know. And
You like to catch the 20, 30 Xers, right? And then just come back, cash out, and walk away, right?
yeah, I don't do like um scalps or anything like that. Some people call that laziness. I just call that I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses. You know.
You mentioned something that I fully agree with when I look at these memes and stuff. That if you list it on a bunch of exchanges and Binance comes last, to me that is a top signal. You usually get a huge. I remember SHIB and all those. You get the huge crash. It'll consolidate and it can do a run again later. We're not saying it'll never run again, right? But you're gonna get a huge crash on that day. Is that different if Binance list early though? And CZ said he doesn't understand memes, and I got offended when he said that because he listed SHIB so fast. Everyone listed SHIB, Robinhood, everyone listed it so fast.
Did Premise cut off for you guys? Did he cut off? Mr. Producer, did he cut off?
Yes, he did.
Like, come on, y'all know the answer to that.
Premise, you cut off, and I was like, "Yo, Mr. Producer, did he cut off?" And they're like, "Man, come on, y'all know the answer to that." That was hilarious, bro. But yeah, you did cut off there, brother. Kimchi, come on up, bro. If you want to come on up, dude. It's always fun having Kim up here. Oh no, he can't. He can't come up. The thumbs down. Yeah, these emojis are so interactive, dude. Same thing with the soundboard. I noticed with like the NFT spaces, they be abusing this a lot, bro. Um, I would say, dude, that my favorite thing on the soundboard is probably this. It's probably my favorite one, dude. I remember when we hold on. Mr. Producer, do you see Premise as a co-host on your end? Because to me, Premise, say something. Say anything. Yeah, I can't hear Premise at
It's like
all.
a strange glitch. It's like it's got a dot next to it, like he's requesting, but he's like currently co-host. So this is kind of nutty.
Yeah. Mr. Producer, just drop Premise as co-host, and then bring him back up. Yeah, I see him. Oh, now he's connecting. He's connecting.
Elon, my man, needs to get his shit together. I got a phone call and that was just it. Full on rug. I basically was fully rugged like WSB. I'm back though.
Yeah, man. Premise, do you expect more of these regional banks to go under? Because I sure do, and I know some people are expecting a large bank to go under. Um, I just can't see that happening. I think like the peak of all that stuff was Credit Suisse, as far as like big banks failing. But what I'm noticing here in Miami is that, whenever I drive by like late night, I do see some like the smaller banks. They still have workers in there and they look like super stressed out and all that stuff. I think I even saw like a small bank just like pack their bags up and leave, and the building is just like abandoned, and it's not really the best site.
I think it's all by plan, man. You know, I'm a tinfoil hat guy. Yeah, I think this was always part of the plan. They knew there was weakness out there. Markets are predatory by nature. And I think they know the weaknesses of these banks, and they know if they do this, that people like J.P. Morgan and them get to come clean up the scraps. We could open up big shorts on regional banks, come clean up the scraps. It's like a win-win situation. I feel bad for the regional banks; they're in a lot of trouble, especially with people shorting them, because that's not helping the case. On some level, a lot of people like to say, "Well, I'm just short." On some level, when you are shorting, you actually are contributing to these things because these banks need those type of assets on books. They need that kind of liquidity, and we're helping push it down. So we are helping the case when you were shorting those things. That's just the facts of it. It doesn't really matter when you're shorting crypto, right? But when you're shorting banks and regional banks, that's going to apply more pressure. And so those who probably didn't have a problem will now have a problem because we're saying they all have a problem. We're going to make it a thing. I expect more to go under. I expect them to get absorbed, so it's not a big problem in the long term aspect. I think we live in such a weird world where the Fed can protect everyone else's deposits and they can just let these things blow up underneath them. It is their fault. They are the ones who weren't hedged. They were lied to, though, is what the Fed didn't tell people. Is that the Fed kind of promised people that, hey, we won't increase rates sometime soon. If you buy these treasuries, we'll keep rates low. He lied, and then he went on a historical rate raise. So, believe it or not, Powell is actually, in my opinion, a huge part to blame of this because they were promising people, hey, buy these. We need someone to buy these, and we promise we'll keep rates low. As long as rates are low, we're buying these low yields. It's not a problem. But once we start raising it, well, you get a little more of a problem. So, I think this is predatory. I think it's fully intentional. And I think it's bullish for Bitcoin. So that's the good news. And you saw gold went for an all time high yesterday. Gold has been ripping. It can nuke from here, right? But it's just still amazing to see gold was performing.
Yeah, I posted, by the way, guys, a replay of the space, not space, of the interview that we had with David Hunter. I put it up on the Nest for you guys. If you guys want to check out some of our new YouTube content up on the Nest, we had David Hunter on, and we got to know, his background and all that stuff. And let me check the views. How many views does our video have with him? I think it's like one of our highest grossing
Oh,
grossing
yeah.
ones. Yeah,
Instantly, it was one of our highest just
yeah,
off the bat.
16. Yeah, 1,600 views. I know the Ben Cowan one that we had back in February was about like 4,700. So we'll be having more of those like YouTube shows moving forward, probably like once a week or so, just for production value standpoints. And I think we gained like 50 subs as well. So we're gonna try our best to contribute to the YouTube to some degree, as much as we have with Twitter. And with Twitter, we're at about 93, a little over 93 100 followers, and I'm gonna try my best to get us over 10K. That's my goal, 10K by Bitcoin Miami. So looking forward to growing this brand, dude, to the best of my ability. But yeah, we have Hagrid on, man. Hagrid, what's going on, brother?
Hey, thanks for having me, bro. Yeah, not much. I mean, just enjoying the conversation. I was seeing something earlier just on the meme topic. I was seeing that our friend Rug Pal was talking about Turbo, so that's one that I'm definitely going to stay away from. But yeah, I mean, I kind of fumbled the bag a little bit on Pepe. I sold far too early, so congrats on those who actually held through that. But yeah, I mean it's really just a crazy time in the on chain world. But yeah, I mean this morning I've been watching equities like a hawk, and things are looking decently weak. I want to see how this weekly closes, but definitely some interesting action this week. I wasn't really expecting this huge red candle to close the week, but something I am seeing too is we're getting a pretty hefty pop in the VIX on the daily, right? I mean we're up like something like 15% right now, but yeah, I mean I'm personally, the last few days I was open to cracking 4,200 and filling some gaps and seeing where we could go. But as of the last basically 24 hours, it's looking pretty weak. For me, I'm just gonna kind of play it level to level. I would not, if I was a bear, right? I wouldn't want to see this daily close above where it gapped down from. So that's something I'm watching. But um, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested, right? Like the conversation we were having with Matt yesterday on Market Talk, just with the gold Bitcoin correlation. Like, I think if there is a bull case from here to be made for Bitcoin in the short term, it is that correlation, and it is looking for that like third drive into the low to mid 30s is something I'd look for. But I mean, we've got to hold like that 27.5 area, or else it really might be over. We might see some significant downside. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. And I guess just a little anecdote on the regional banking side. Um, I was in a regional bank my entire life, and as of the last like 3 months, I capitulated that and moved all my stuff over to JP Morgan, and I'm very very comfortable in the loving arms of JP Morgan. So I feel like there's probably a lot of people like me who are thinking that way. So it's kind of a tough situation, and I didn't really like to do it. I'd been with these guys my entire life, so uh, it was a little tough. But I was like, you know what, it's not worth the risk, kind of situation in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I see a lot of them are kind of crashing and burning right now, but hopefully Powell can light up some Fed facility and help out. But I mean, he's not going to let the entire small banking sector burn to the ground, right? So at some point, I think he's gonna do something and step in. But um,
Well,
yeah, I mean that's
when you just
sorry. Go
said
ahead.
that, I pictured Powell literally in my head, just kind of grinning for some reason. Like he's not gonna let all the small regional banks go under. He's just grinning.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I know. I'm like, he can't. I mean, I know he's watching all this, and it's like, at what point is he gonna step in and do something? But um, yeah, I mean, I guess just touching on like much less usage of that recently, which is a good sign. But I guess the majority of the people or the banks tapping that program and that discount window also was like two or three banks, right? It wasn't like a ton of regionals. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm kind of being patient, kind of trying to be tactical with it right now. I'm not just to one side or the other, but yeah, just hanging out.
And David is just interacting with our pinned tweet, man. He's going.
Where at?
David Hunter, dude, like our pinned tweet,
I
it
love
has
that.
31,000 impressions, dude. That is awesome, dude. Gotta love it, bro.
Gotta love to
Gotta
see
love it,
that.
man. I was actually like inquiring if he wanted to do a space. He's not a fan of spaces though. He's more of a YouTube guy.
That's interesting, given spaces are easier. I wonder how he would have felt about Pepe. I avoided asking him about meme coins, obviously. I can only imagine, as OG as he would have been like, what? But we didn't get to asking him about Bitcoin. And I think we missed on that. So we definitely have to try to get him back up and try to rehash that, right?
Yeah. I think like imagine like a David Hunter collaboration with Ben Cowan. That'd be pretty sick. I've always wondered, like, do any of these like other financial guys, do they do any sort of social media? Like, I wonder if someone like Peter Lynch or like Jamie Dimon. Imagine having Jamie Dimon on
Yo,
a
I,
space,
ain't he
dude.
about to like? I don't think he's getting arrested, but he's got some problems on his hand. I don't know if you've heard about all that. Like, he's got some problems.
Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, I think they're tying him into the Epstein files. They said he might have to step down. I don't know. Like I said, all speculation. I want to see final results, but there's a huge thing about him and the Epstein stuff. I'm not even going to get into it because I'm not well versed, but might be something one to look into. He might be in some trouble.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That
just wow. Yeah, that's all. It's like
that
I'm about to
that
search Twitter
is
right now to confirm. If I find something, I'll put it in the net.
yeah. That is something else, bro. It's like, yeah, if I send like $5,000 through JP Morgan, it's a problem. But if they have ships that have cargoes of like drugs and all that stuff for money laundering, then that's not a problem. It's sort of like that thesis: rules for thee, but not for me.
I pinned that
But
in the nest from Unusual Wells, by the way. That was the thing I was reading about. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon will be deposed in late May for a lawsuit accusing the bank of benefiting from sex trafficking by the late money manager Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, I hate our world
big,
sometimes.
big yikes, man. I also posted something that Kimchi put in the comment section, and basically like most of regionals are red. You have Pac West being the biggest loser. Has a drawdown of over 50% for today's trading session. You have Old Point Financial, of course, in the double digits as well. Western Alliance, second biggest loser at almost 39%. Jeez, dude. Home Street with over 25% in the red. So these puts on these like the puts on these regionals are just printing, I'm assuming.
That's the funny thing to me. There all year, I felt like there's been a lot of mega bears on Twitter, but none of them were shorting regional banks when the stuff started going down. Everyone was still trying to short Nasdaq because they just don't want tech to go up. I guess I was like, why aren't y'all shorting the thing? The weakness, the thing is like, quit trying to short Nvidia, short regional bank. I did find that interesting. These things are straight nuking. These are the gap downs bears like. But I don't think not any bear that I've seen on Twitter has been saying, "Oh, I'm shorting regional banks." I think they just kind of choked and fumbled, honestly, on
Yeah. Yeah, some of the quote unquote economic deterioration didn't exactly play out, did it? But yeah, the like the whole like the banking sector has always been weird, dude. Like, do we really need dozens and dozens of banks? Like, I feel like we're gonna move to an era where most things are just consolidated between J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo. Bank of America honestly sucks, dude. I don't know how that bank has like survived um so many times, dude. They're probably like from the individuals that I've spoken with, like people have always had issues with Bank of America. And of course, there's also Citibank. Um, so outside of that, like not sure what else there would be because I know with Goldman Sachs, like I think the most that they offer is their Marcus savings account, which I believe at the current moment with Marcus you can get close to like I think you can get like almost 7% yield, 6% yield on your savings account. Like now that rates are 5% and a quarter. I think with Marcus at Goldman Sachs, I believe you can actually get like a good return on your money. But then it's like when you compare it to inflation, dude, you're only getting a little over 1%, which is trash. It's absolute trash, dude.
Yeah, it has to come down a little more. I think to me that's a better bear case than immediate destruction of the world is that eventually yields could be big enough for a bunch of big money just wants to and they'll still buy stuff, but they'll want to just buy as much treasury, you know what I'm saying, as much yield as they can. And then once it's all kind of dried up, then they'll go back to taking on risk because now they got 30-year, 20-year bonds paying them a great yield. Because big money loves bonds, right? Like you got a couple $1 billion, you can hedge your risk. Let's imagine I had $50 billion, and someone said, "Hey, this thing has like a." I'm gonna just throw a bigger number than what we got, but let's say they said it had like a 5% yield. It's like so I can grab a billions of dollars worth of that, and now I can use the money that's guaranteed to earn to get super risky on something. As a hedge fund manager, I'd be smacking my lips at the opportunity. It's like, oh man, I can cover 5% guaranteed on, let's say X amount of billion. Let's just say it's 10, right? I'm just throwing random numbers, and then I can get really risky then with, in my opinion, a chunk of that money because I know I'm getting that back at least on the bond side of things. I think it would help risk basically. It will hurt risk, and then help risk. It hurts risk until everyone's dried up the yield, then it helps risk because then everyone dumps into risk now that they got some safety.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think some of this price action, dude, with some of these tech stocks is just beautiful, man. I'm looking at Apple. Oh man. All I do is I just put Apple stock on Google and I just put 5 year and then year to date, and golly, man, the strength on this thing is beautiful. I hope it continues ripping faces off, man. I truly do, in the midst of all this chaos. But I think this is a good time to wrap up, man. I think we've covered a good majority of things, man.
I,
So if
I
you
got
guys
I
are,
got to note one thing though before we do Wabi, that Apple's a country, it's not a stock. Hey, I mean they got
yeah,
enough
yeah,
money to
it's a
be.
savings account. It's a savings account, really, when you think about it. When you really think about it, dude. But yeah, guys, if you guys are new to the spaces, feel free to follow that giant yellow square thing with the check mark called Because Bitcoin. We're going to try our best to make these spaces more concise. Instead of having like the longer spaces, we're going to try to jam pack as much quality information as much as possible. So I know usually with Market Check we usually go for an hour, but I feel like for today's episode, I think 40 minutes does the job. But oh, I see we actually have Dr. Jeff.
That changes things.
Right, right when we're about to wrap up, Dr. Jeff, if you want to come on up, brother, and would love to know your thoughts from what has occurred over the last 24 hours with post FOMC and all the incoming data and all that stuff. Whoa, we actually got him on, the the man himself,
Hey
the
guys,
the the,
what's going on?
the doctor of Swolenomics, bro. 6'2", 250 pounds, the new world heavyweight champion of the WWE, Dr. Jeff Ross. How are you, brother? It's good to have you on, man. I know it's been a couple of months. How are you feeling?
Yeah, thanks. I've been lurking in your spaces for a while, and I haven't been able to come up. So this work, I actually just got done with another interview, so I thought I'd pop in and see what's going on. I heard you were wrapping up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you guys extend it just for me. But yeah, I'll throw out my thoughts just because they're kind of fresh with what's going on, and I'm sure you've talked about most of this stuff. So the Powell did his FOMC meeting yesterday. Nothing. I didn't get surprised by any of it. I don't think anybody did. It was kind of as expected, right? They raised 25 bips. He said. Inflation remains sticky high, and therefore we're going to remain sticky hawkish for as long as possible. That's like the ongoing narrative. He deflected all the regional bank questions. Basically, I look at it as he just says this. Basically, in his mind, regional banks are collateral damage, right? This is collateral damage for a greater cause, which is destroying demand and bringing down inflation. I think it's barbaric. I just like to make that clear. Their methods of destroying demand basically mean make life miserable for small businesses and put people out of work, so people don't have money to afford groceries and basic bills. Drives me crazy, right? It's just absolutely barbaric. It's like a socialist response to a problem. So I disagree with it completely. I think they're neglecting their duties. I also think central banks should be, by definition, counter-cyclical. So what they should have been doing back in 2021 when the markets were flying high, I was pounding the table 2 years ago saying, stop QE, stop with this zero interest rate policy, stop flooding the markets with liquidity. What are you doing? This is insane. Valuations are crazy. Stocks were way overvalued. Bonds were way overvalued. Real estate was way overvalued. Private equity was way overvalued. Crypto was way overvalued. That's what happens when you just flood the markets with zero interest rate policy and liquidity. And so they obviously pushed it way too far, and now they're tightening into an economic slowdown. That's also a disaster. So these huge bubbles and then these huge bubble pops are just terrible to watch, and they're terrible to see my fellow Americans go through what they're going through right now. I just hate watching it. So anyways, it is what it is. We don't live in a free market economy. We live in a centrally manipulated economy, and we just saw more of that. Okay, so that's my little my soapbox. I'll get off that. So what's going on? The markets believe that this was the last hike so far. The CME futures are showing that it's going to be flat at the next meeting. They're not going to raise again, and then the meeting after that, they're probably going to start lowering rates. That's kind of my view as well. I think we're definitely headed into a recession. I don't think it's going to be any more question in the second half of the year. I think unemployment is going to start to rise. I think businesses are really going to be suffering. I think it's going to the regional bank demises that we're seeing kind of once a week or once every other week. I think that those are going to pick up steam, and they're really going to cause a problem per se for the powers that be. There's already talk that they want to increase FDIC insurance from basically 1% of the U.S. Bank deposits to 100%. So they want to go from covering literally like what is it? I can't even 170 billion or so of bank deposits. They want to increase that to 17.5 trillion, which would cover the U.S. Deposit base. That's insane. There's no possible way any sort of insurance product can do that. The banks can't pay in and cover that. What they're saying is we will backstop the U.S. banking system with the infinite Federal Reserve balance sheet. That basically means, we are saying we will do QE infinity if that's what it takes to save the banks. If that happens, that is just a massive catalyst for debasement of the U.S. dollar and a catalyst for Bitcoin, mostly, I would say, and gold as well should do pretty well. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. I think all of this stuff is going to come to a head within the next couple of months. Obviously, with the debt ceiling debacle going on and coming to a head June 1st or so, they may, politicians being politicians, they may work out a little temporary solution and then push it down the road for another 3 months or so. That wouldn't surprise me. But okay, so that's all that. What is it looking like for risk assets? We've been watching risk assets kind of roll over from I think overbought levels. I was saying that last week. Personally, I had been in my client accounts taking profits last week, putting on shorts towards the end of the week with the month-end markup. We're starting to get that correction now. Bitcoin has been hanging in there, but honestly, I think Bitcoin looks like it's going to drop. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down to kind of the 25, 26 somewhere level, at which point, because it's in such a strong bull market, like a longer term bull market, I think all serious dips are for buying. I view gold the same, gold miners, if you're into that kind of stuff. I don't care about crypto, sorry. And then I think U.S. small caps have been rolling over. They're getting closer to their bottom, but they don't look bullish anymore, right? So why aren't these things bullish? For me, it really comes down to liquidity. So everybody's talking about liquidity. I will say 6 months ago, nobody was talking about liquidity. I felt like this sort of lone wolf, talking about it, and it was kind of a goofy 6 months ago. But now, like, I hear everybody talking about it. Now what's funny is everybody's on this bandwagon that liquidity is rising throughout the world. It's expanding, but it's actually not. It expanded significantly from October of 2022 through February, March of this year, and now it's pulling back substantially. So U.S. net liquidity as well as global liquidity are both contracting right now. And risk assets that are sensitive to liquidity, mainly Bitcoin, also gold, also like technology stocks or NASDAQ stocks, those things tend to be very sensitive to liquidity. That's why, for the most part, I remain pretty bearish. And I think liquidity the situation is going to get worse. It's going to continue to contract basically for the next several months. I don't really see a way out unless the Fed gets their hand gets forced and they have to pump liquidity because of a disastrous type event. So either way, I'm bearish because it's either going to kind of trickle out and choke the system slowly, and we're going to see risk assets kind of slowly continue to go down, or we're going to have a major like credit-based event. And the Fed is going to be forced to pivot. Whenever the Fed is forced to pivot, that's always terrible in the near term. Risk assets they usually crash hard and fast, and then we would be at least closer to a bottom, and then they would pivot and go back into like flat out QE, which usually takes a little bit. There's a lag time until it takes effect. I just dumped a bunch of stuff at you. So if you want to, if you guys have any comments or questions, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I had kind of a couple of questions for you to kind of follow up on stuff you said. You answered one question that it would be bullish for Bitcoin if they do that, because that is kind of like infinite QE. My worry is it will allow banks to be risky as much as they want, but it sounds like they actually won't cover the bank; they'll cover the deposits. The questions I got though does surround unemployment, because we see all these things happening. We see banks going under, unemployment still at 3.5. It might move very soon, maybe. The Fed himself said that he's actually, so I'm not actually surprised it stayed low. I made a thesis last year that gig economy and stuff would protect it. We have an infrastructure bill that was supposed to create 2 million jobs a year. I don't know whether to do that. Is there a world where he said this is different? He's starting to go back to soft landing. So it sounds like you're calling BS on him. But is there a world where does unemployment have to tick up? And do you see a world where unemployment could actually just stay low? Because I think everyone's surprised. If I told you inflation would go from 9% to 5%, and several banks would go under, and I told you unemployment would actually be at 3.5, I would have got laughed out the building last year. What's with the unemployment? The economy still looks strong from the consumer and the worker standpoint. Is this a bank contagion only? Is there a world where the Fed can actually get that soft landing, or is this like, nah, it would just take longer to get the big crash?
Yeah, 100% premise. Good call on that. Your call that unemployment could remain lower for longer, and so that's right on. And so a couple things. I don't think that's going to hold out. I do think at some point unemployment will blow out, and I think we'll see that coming. The two things that tend to go hand in hand is unemployment and it may seem counterintuitive, but the high yield OAS. So the spread, the option adjusted spread between treasuries and high yield bonds or junk bonds, when things start to get really dicey, they go from looking kind of okay to suddenly they blow out. And I think we're going to see that also with unemployment personally. And I think this all kind of comes to a head in the second half of the year. You mentioned that Powell said yesterday, he talked about a soft landing, like a mild recession. I will say that the last couple of meetings, he was very loath to even mention the R word. He didn't want to admit that we were even going to be in a recession. So the fact that now he's talking about, we'll probably just go into a mild recession, I think that's extremely ominous. If you look back in history, Fed officials, they never speak the truth, right? They're always trying to manipulate people and to be like, oh, it's okay, it's going to be fine. But they're now admitting we're at least going to have a mild recession. To me, that portends to very, very bad things. Personally, the yield curve inversion is still extremely inverted. We still have to work through all of these interest rates, all of this nonsense through the markets, and it's going to take months and months. So there's a really long answer to question to say I think this is going to go on for longer than most people are kind of ready for. I think we're still going to be talking about this 6 months from now, 9 months from now. I don't know when we bottom. Markets bottom towards the beginning of a recession, which is encouraging, but it feels really bad to go long when you're in a recession because it feels like the world is falling apart, and it kind of is. But markets tend to front run all of that, and they tend to bottom right at the beginning. So that's why I think it's possible we could see the markets bottom sometime in the next 6 months or so. But the economy may lag and be really in trouble for basically the next 6 to 12 months or maybe even longer.
Oh, it's Dr. Jeff just coming in here, man, and putting on a clinic, brother. Man, did you take your pre-workout, Dr. Jeff? Man, you're just coming in here guns a-blazing, brother.
Not yet, man. Actually, I have a headache and I'm tired. So yeah, you should see me when I'm hopped up on my caffeine.
Jeez, man. What pre-workout do you take, brother? Because I know you trained, man.
I'm trying to not take it. So and I can't remember the name of it offhand because I haven't taken it for a few weeks. So I try to train just totally naturally. I basically just eat steak in the morning and eggs, and then just go natural from there. And I'm just trying to get off all that extra stuff. I have my own vices still. I still like my beer, and I still like coffee. And I still like my wife and my son both make some incredible desserts, usually chocolate based, and so I eat those. So I still got that little like 48-year-old love handle, but underneath I'm pretty jacked. So I'm like half dad bod, half jacked. It's pretty funny,
brother, man. So listen, you've been in the finance game for a while, man, and one of the things that I like to do, as you know, is get to know individuals a bit more personally. So what are some things that you do to kind of like mitigate some of the stresses from dealing with numbers all day? Because I know you have things like Fed hikes, Fed policy. This guy said this. You're looking at charts, data analytics, a lot of numbers and graphs and all that stuff. A lot of quantitative analysis, right? So, like, what are some hobbies that you like to do that sort of mitigate all of those stresses?
Yeah, good question. So for me, what helps with stress is kind of just doing something totally different, right? It doesn't mean necessarily not doing anything. In fact, I'm terrible at just sitting still. Like I kind of freak out if I'm not doing anything. So when I'm bored, like one of my main things I do is I work as a doctor, as a radiologist, and I had retired from that for a year and a half. I haven't even told anybody this, but I'm going back to medicine in about a couple of months here, which I'm pretty stoked for. I actually like having the challenge of doing both things. And then outside of, I mean, I have a great wife of 24 years we're coming up on now, and three awesome kids. They're kind of college age, late high school age. So I like hanging out with them. I live in Colorado, so it's beautiful. We go hiking out here a lot. I play tennis. I play guitar. I used to be in a band. Used to have put a couple CDs out back in the '90s when CDs were a thing. Yeah, so all those kind of things. But I love digesting, Mark. For me, this is all fun, right? Like my business of managing money and managing a hedge fund. I think it's a ton of fun. It only feels like work when I have to do compliance stuff with the regulators. Then I hate it. But the investment side of it for me is awesome. And having clients who trust me is really fun and really fantastic. And then on the medical side, like again, that's super challenging, really interesting. Radiology, if you guys know, I mean that's imaging. So the imaging side, I used to be something called an interventional radiologist, which is a image guided, minimally invasive surgeon. So I'd like poke holes in people and put catheters and stents in people and things like that. I don't do that anymore because that's too much to do that and share. So now I just read radiology. So if you go like to a clinic and get an MRI or a CT scan or ultrasound, like I'm the doctor who reads those reports. Anyways, so yeah, those are all kind of my side hobbies.
Shout out, dude. I live in Boulder, Colorado. If you're ever around there, give me a shout.
Right on, brother. Yeah, we could go have a meal or a beer or something together.
Jeez, Dr. Jeff, so you're basically like Forrest Gump. You've done it all, brother.
Yeah, that's like half insult, half compliment. But thanks. Yeah, Forrest Gump was awesome, man. I definitely have lived a full life. Like I will never go to my grave with people saying I didn't live fully, and I've always been. So it's sort of a blessing and a curse that I'm just super ambitious and kind of fearless in a way. Whereas like I don't let like my fears prevent me from doing something. So if I want to go after something, I go after it hard. Like I played tennis in college and got pretty good at it, and like this band thing, and you're not supposed to be a doctor and a fund manager, but I did it anyways, and that's just kind of how I'm wired. And I make tons of mistakes, but then I like to think I'm humble enough that I learn from my mistakes, so that helps me grow in wisdom over the years. Yeah, so by the time I die, I think I'll have made pretty much every mistake possible in life, and hopefully learn from most of them.
Dr. Jeff, brother, it's great to have a more personable conversation instead of asking like, "What do you think of this Fed? What do you think of what Bullard said? What do you think of Janet Yellen said?" I feel like with an individual like yourself, I know you get asked the same thing almost every day, but I like to take a different approach here. And one thing I'd like to ask, since you've been in the game for quite some time and you're solvent, you didn't get blown out, right? So one thing I'd want to ask, like, during some down periods in your life, how did you manage to pick yourself off the hole? Like, do you reach out to your friends? Do you like reach inside of yourself? Like, what does Dr. Jeff do when he's having a bad time? Really in life in general, like what do you tap into? Like, what do you tap into, and what is your why, right? Like when you were getting your doctorate, which I'm sure is not the easiest task. And I know, like being in the fitness industry myself, I know with someone like Lane Norton, right, to get his doctorate, he actually had to like step away from training for a bit, and it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to do. So, like basically, my question is like, what does Dr. Jeff do in the face of adversity?
That's a great question. So, not to get too over spiritual on you guys, but so I'm actually a Christian, and I've been a Christian for a long time, since like high school. I dove into it, and that's just how I'm work. I like to study things down until I feel like I've found truth, right? And so I went down the rabbit hole of all of basically most of the major religions in the world, and I feel like I settled on Christianity, and so I mean, I'm like a legit follower of Jesus Christ, you know, and I know tons of people who have had terrible experiences with like the Christian church and with denominations and with what happened in the Catholic Church. I tell those people, like, man, get into just read the Bible. Like, I've been reading the Bible through the Bible every year for like 30 years, the past 30 years of my life. I do that every morning with my wife. We get up, have coffee, read the Bible, and like hang out together, get some fellowship. So when I'm feeling down, like for me, that's sort of my go-to, right? Like I think that the Bible is actually truth, so I cling to that, and that really is an encouraging thing for me. My wife is awesome; she's my best friend too. So we, you know, she's really active and fun, and we hang out a lot. And my kids are awesome as well. Really just kind of regroup with them. I used to have a really strong friend network when I grew up in my home state of Minnesota. But since moving to Colorado, and partly because I have what's the word? I dove so deeply into my career with both medicine and finance. I feel kind of bad, but I don't have a lot of time for relationships outside of my own family. And so I've kind of huddled inwards in that respect, and don't really do a lot of stuff with friends. When I was younger, though, my answer would have been I reach out to my friends and do stuff with my friends a lot more. But just being straight up with you because you asked. So yeah, that's what I do. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, life is stressful, right? During bull markets, life is good, and everybody thinks you're a hero and a genius. But during bear markets, you can look like a chump, and you can make some pretty bad calls. And even for Vailshire, like I said, making mistakes. Like, I learn from mistakes, and they really get me down. I will tell people, for those of you in the audience who are considering it, managing money for other people sucks. It's a terrible job. Like, you think it sounds awesome because you just get to make money investing and, you know, do all that. But man, when you lose money for your clients, it's a terrible feeling. And so I literally lie awake at night trying to figure out how to make my system better, how to make money for my clients, how to grow their pile, how to preserve it. And so, like I said, making a lot of mistakes over the years has been very humbling, but I've grown a lot too. So you learn to be more conservative over time as well, and how to manage risk much better as you get older. And so those are all the kind of things that I've learned, over the last decade or so.
Well, that was beautiful, Dr. Jeff. Before I pass it on to Max, man, there's a little prayer, man, that says, "Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy." I find that pretty. I find, like, things like that. They push me to really tap in and to just bring it, man. To just absolutely bring it, brother. And I'll pass it on over to Max.
Dr. Ross, I didn't know that you were a Minnesota native. I actually born and raised in Minnesota. Where did you grow up?
Get out of town, man. Yeah. Well, I moved in a couple states. My dad had this job that moved us around, but basically from 1980 to 1992, I was in St. Cloud, and then I did college at a school called Gustavus down in St. Peter, Minnesota, and then I did med school at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I grew up a little bit west, in like Orono area, like kind of. It's not that far west. It's like 40 minutes west of the Twin Cities.
Yep, I know Orono.
Yep. And then I went to a small school, St. Thomas, for college. So
yeah, brother, dude,
rival to Gustavus.
Yeah, we used to just smoke St. Thomas in tennis. Oh. I played for the same tennis team. But it was a great. I had many friends who went to St. Thomas, so I give them crap about that all the time. But yeah, that's a cool school.
Yeah, there's a lot of great schools. But I had a question for you, and I find it inspiring in a way that the time you've committed, and it seems like the comfort that you seek in religion. And I spent a good deal of my life as an atheist, and I'm 27, so it's like I was not really looking that hard at it. I was in high school, and I was just like, oh, like, Big Bang, we're just here, nothing means anything, we're just on a spinning rock, and like there's no God, and whatever. And maybe some of that came from watching, like, sci-fi television and stuff like that, but I never really looked into it. As I've gotten older, things have changed dramatically. um, but I wanted to know, like, when did that, and I guess where I'm coming from this is I always find it amazing when people like yourself, who are extremely intelligent individuals, and specifically you having a background in medicine and a deeper understanding of the sciences than most, can find comfort or safety or security in religion. When I was younger, it didn't make sense to me. And I remember first thinking, like, I think his name is Dr. Ben Carson. I think he was a presidential candidate at one point, and he's like one of the best, I think, brain surgeons or neurosurgeons in the country. And he's very religious. And I was always like, how could you be religious and also believe in science? It doesn't make sense. So I'm just curious, how did you find religion, and how is it tied into your understanding of the sciences?
Yeah, I love it, Max. This is a sweet market check. I love it that we're talking about other things, which I think are more important. By the way, I spend most of my days talking about the markets and talking about Bitcoin, but it kind of kills me because I mean, who I am ultimately, I think is as a Christian. That's how I view myself, and I think it has eternal significance. So I just think it's like infinitely more important. So, anyways, great question. The more I have studied and the more I dig deep into the different kinds of sciences, whether it's chemistry, biochemistry, physics, even mathematics, when you dig into all of those different things, biology especially, I come away from that and I say, how can you not believe in a God? Like, how can you not believe that there is a creator? To think that this is, well, first of all, here's what gets me. I actually think about this on a regular basis because I obviously have a lot of friends who are atheists, or agnostic, but mainly for the atheists who think that even with the Big Bang, I'm like, well, what came before the Big Bang? Like, what it didn't, you didn't like the universe. There's no possible way it can go from just absolute nothingness to something like that 0 to 1. That's not possible in my mind without a creative force of some kind, right? You can't just have nothing and then have something. It just doesn't work like that. So that's kind of my basic premise. And then as I just got studying it, and man, I could go down so many different routes. First of all, one preacher who I would recommend to you, Max, since you're from Minnesota and you're cerebral too, like me. Like I like preachers who are intelligent, and it's not emotional and hype based, but it's actually super logical. There's a dude named John Piper from Minnesota. He preached at this church called Bethlehem Baptist. I actually went to that church, and that's where me and my wife got married back in the late '90s. The dude is awesome because he was actually going to be a doctor, but then one summer he got like butt sick. I think mono or something took him out for a couple months, and then he kind of felt a calling from God, and instead of going to be a doctor, instead of going into med school, he became a preacher. And I think he's personally, and I'm biased, but I think he's the greatest preacher of our age. He can break down the scripture in just these incredible ways, and he takes it from sort of a scientific and very highly logical approach. So that's always really been encouraging to me. So that's a really long-winded answer to say, like, I look at it and I don't think that science and Christianity are opposed at all. In fact, I think they go hand in hand with each other. And so the more I study things like biology, the more I understand the human body, the more I understand disease processes and all of this kind of stuff that goes on with being a doctor, the more it actually drives me closer to God, which is pretty crazy for some people to understand. But like, I see God moving in the world. I feel like just on kind of a regular basis from my understanding of the scripture and my understanding of science. I don't even know if that made sense because it's pretty esoteric, but that's kind of how I view the world.
No, that made perfect sense, and it's cool to hear you speak about this journey you've been on, because, like I mentioned, I'm 27. For a great deal of my life, I would probably consider myself an atheist, or maybe agnostic at a minimum. But I would say, looking back, mostly atheist, and it seemed like one or the other. But the more I began to sort of study, like, and just ask these questions and pry, like, well, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Who are we? For one, I refuse to accept that the reason I am here is just random. The reason that you guys are here is random, and my purpose is to just accumulate as much money or Bitcoin as I possibly can. As much as I love it, I think it's shallow, and I refuse to accept that that's what we're all supposed to be doing here. And then I start to look at science, right? And I started with like, all these different theories I would see, like, well, there's a missing link and, in our evolution, and, aliens came down and, created, humans and whatever. It's like all these things. And then it's like, you start looking into like what the Big Bang is and planets and, our galaxies. And to me, the more I read, it seemed like science was a bit of a religion in and of itself, like certain theories. None of it was proven, right? It just seemed a lot of it was theories. And that's kind of how I viewed religion, was like, wow, there's no way Jonah got swallowed by the whale. And like, there's no way Adam and Eve were, in the garden. And like, this didn't literally happen. But the older I got and the more I looked into like, quote unquote, science and all of these theories, I sort of found religion to be far more believable and plausible than some of these, what I view as crazy sort of like scientific theories. And I began to approach life a little bit differently and accept that there was a God or a creator or an author, whatever you choose to view him as. And I agree with what you say. When you open your mind and your heart to it, you can feel something, but you have to be willing to like acknowledge it, and you have to be willing to accept that that is the truth. And I'll tell you, it opens your eyes. It's perspective shifting, no doubt. So I really appreciate this conversation. It's really great to hear this side of your life. I know you as an investor, but it's really great. I'm enjoying this a lot.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks, thanks you guys for making it possible. This is your show, so I appreciate you having me up and talking about, something besides the markets, something besides finance.
Yeah, that's something that I like doing sometimes with our guests. And Snorlax, what's going on, brother? If you want to add something, man, feel free to go ahead. Good to have you up here.
No, it's good, guys. I really don't have anything too much to add to the conversation. I love that we're kind of keeping it light about markets. I mean, honestly, you're a remarkable man, if you don't mind me saying, like being as active in these markets as you are, and also a doctor, a family man, and a man of faith. It's really refreshing to see. Honestly, I don't really have a question that's like directed. It's really more just kind of like how in the world do you find time for markets in the way that you do? Because I think about like myself, I basically spend the majority of my time working on markets. I can't imagine also having a family and the responsibilities that you do. And you're a beast, man. You're in the trenches. Like I see you in spaces all the time. So I don't know. It's just not really a question, but like, how do you do it, man? You're like an Iron Man almost. Not to like fanboy at all or anything, but yeah, no, you're very impressive.
No, well, first of all, thanks for the compliments. It's really kind of you to say. I would say, first of all, I'm not impressive. I'm just a dude, regular dude. Like I said, I've made a ton of mistakes in my life. I try to learn from them and stay humble. Like if you're not humble, you can't learn from mistakes. I see that all the time with people who are like intelligent, but they lack wisdom because they do not have humility. So that would be like one of my main things is like maintain humility. Like do not think too much of yourself. Confidence is attractive. Arrogance is ugly. Like don't be arrogant, be confident. How do I do what I do? Honestly, it's discipline and priorities is what it comes down to. Like I said, like I get up with my wife and we've been reading the Bible together. I've been doing that for over 30 years just by myself every morning, rain or shine, if I'm sick or not, doesn't matter. Get up, put my time in. It's like the same with working out. It's the same with how you eat. And you wouldn't believe what you can get accomplished if you cut the garbage out of your life, like the nonsense, like basically anything. Spending time watching TV is pretty much nonsense. Like I'm not going to say don't do that, right? Because I'll watch stuff. My wife and I like to watch Seinfeld or some old shows and stuff. We like to laugh every once in a while. That's cool. But like I see people just waste so much time every day, like just doing just garbage, and I get on my kids about that every once in a while because like they'll be just sitting on Snapchat or on an IG and posting pictures, or they watch like influencers for an hour or 4 every day, and all that kind of stuff. I would say, man, number one, get that nonsense out of your life. like focus on what's important and figure out what your priorities are. Like if you want to be a doctor, or you want to be an awesome investor, or you want to be whatever, fill in the blank, make it a priority. Put time in every day. If you want to be buff and not be a fat slob, then you start eating right. Seriously start eating right and start working out. And I just see so many people like talk and complain and whine about what they want to do, and life is so unfair and poor me. You got to get past that. You got to take responsibility for your life. I tell people that all the time. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your life, the moment your life instantly improves. And so just do that. And that's how I've always been, right? Like one funny story. Back in college, me and my buddies were sitting around in a coffee shop. It was our freshman year of college. And we were talking about like, hey, wouldn't it be sweet to be in a band? Like, man, that would be just, how cool would that be? And we were at this coffee shop, and they actually had a sign up for bands. Like, if you want to play here, just give us the band name and you can come play. We literally just on the spot made up a band name. None of us played any instruments, and we're like, we're gonna start a band. And so like and then we signed up for like 4 months in advance, and we're like, okay, we got 4 months to learn how to play together, and then we're going to come here and perform. And then that turned into our group, and we actually ended up putting out 2 albums, and we played all around Minnesota, a lot of shows and stuff. And like that's just kind of how my life is. Like when I decided I wanted to be a doctor, my advisor in college, who was like a biology professor, she literally laughed at me. She loved me. She was super nice, but she's like, "Oh, Jeff, like it's so neat you want to do that, but you just don't have what it takes to be a doctor. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not going to work. You should think about doing something else." And I'm like, screw that. I want to be a doctor. Like, I feel like God's putting this on my heart. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go after it. And, and then the rest is history. And so I just tell people that, like, figure out what you want. Like, literally sit down and spend time thinking about what you want to be, who you want to be, like what kind of person, what kind of character do you want to have? What is your definition of success? And then just go after it. And if people tell you you can't do it, I say screw them, man. Go after it and do what you can do. And what you lack in intelligence, make up for with diligence. I tell my kids that all the time too. Like, there are some people who are naturally freaky smart. Like, I was in classes with all these guys, right? All these advanced classes like chemistry, physics, but they literally just like understood physics like from the moment of their birth. I'm telling you, that was not me. I did not. I have to study and study and study. And so what I did in college, while all my friends were out going to parties and they were, kicking the hacky sack outside and playing frisbee and doing all that stuff, I was up on the 3rd floor of the library looking out at them and from my window seat, and I was studying 8 to 10 hours every single day. And then I just kept doing that all the way through med school as well. And, so anyways, that was a really long-winded answer, but I say figure out what you want, be disciplined, stick with it, and don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do, and just go after it. And you'll be surprised at how much you can accomplish in 5, 10, 20 years.
Dr. Jeff, I would like to ask you a question, since we're having a more light chat, and it's more to a mindset thing. I like your approach of things, and you say you're a religious man, and you mentioned one thing that stood out to me, that handling clients' money, it isn't easy. And I've handled money for people, and like it's different than when I'm trading my own. I could YOLO my own bag. But these last 2 years, I think, have been brutal for a lot of people. Because sadly, we live in a world where a lot of social media, they see these guys with the cars, and so what people want is that lifestyle and stuff. And so a lot of people want to be traders. And I know for a fact right now there's a lot of people who've just been completely wrecked, and they probably wrecked their parents' money or their friends' money to tell their friends getting these things. What would be your approach to tell someone, and I've suffered losses, how to come back from that, how to regain confidence, how to get themselves out of the mud pits, or how to even stop those who need to possibly take a pause, take a step back and breathe, right? What's the mindset of the trader, mindset of someone like that? How do you bounce back from something like that, if you can share some information?
Yeah, great question. And again, it kind of goes back. First, I want to say managing money for people really sucks. I've been doing it for 10 years. It's not what you think it is. And so like, you got to be ready for this. And it's so funny. My wife is like, what is your deal? Like, why would you go from healthcare to managing money? Like, the two most important things for people, if you think about it, to their lives are their health and their wealth. And so I have both of those in my hands on kind of a regular basis. And it is really stressful. And so like, it kind of comes back to, again, kind of grounding yourself. First of all, you got to quit being arrogant, and you got to think like, I will make mistakes, right? So you have to just admit from the start that you're not perfect and you're going to make mistakes. And then you got to be humble enough to learn from your mistakes too, right? And that's a big problem I see with a lot of people is people will be super confident. I get nervous, by the way. I come into rooms like this a lot, and I see younger guys, and no offense, you guys are all way smarter than I was, but 20-year-old guys who are supremely confident that they know what the market's going to do next, and they kind of go all in. It's sort of the Texas hedge on things, like I'm going all in on this oil well or whatever, and sometimes you hit it and that's awesome, but it's usually luck based. And and I would just say, man, be careful and stay humble. And so when the markets go against you, I will tell you, just full disclosure, like I had a bad year in 2022. I underperformed the market, and I'm not used to underperforming the market. And so it's been a very challenging time for me. Lost some clients, they came in thinking, I can't lose. And I did lose, right? I lost to the market. It's humbling, and you just got to kind of face it, and you got to be straight up and be like, look, I didn't perform like I thought I would, and I'm sorry, but I'm learning from my mistakes, and we're going to come out of this stronger. And so that's how I look at it. I see things that I did. I look back now, I'm like, geez, I can't believe I did that. That was really stupid, and I'm definitely not going to do that, next time around. That's where the wisdom comes in, right? Learning from your mistakes and figuring out how to build a better and better system. So the way I look at it is, by the time I'm 80 and I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to manage other people's money anymore, I'll have it probably perfected by then, right? And I'll just hand it off to somebody, and they'll get to make their own mistakes. But again, not very good advice. But again, I would just tell you, stay humble, keep learning, understand that you absolutely will not win every year. You're going to have down years. And one of the best pieces of advice I got, and then I'll stop, famous hedge fund manager Bill Miller. You guys probably know who he is. He's famous for sticking with Amazon from, like, I think he's the third investor in Amazon, or the third longest investor behind Jeff Bezos and behind his parents, I think. And he's been in since like 97 or something like that. Anyways, so he's of course a billionaire. But what he says, what's really helped me is I can't control clients coming and going. And what always happens is I get a ton of clients at the top of markets, and I lose a ton of clients at the bottom of markets. And he said it's the same for him. You can't let that eat you up, and you can't let that get you down. Like, you just have to continue to be the best investor you can be, and to control the things you can control, and to let go of the things you can't. And so one thing that I've learned, and I really held on to that for probably my first 8 years of Vailshire, is that I held on to that. I held on to clients that I lost. I got really like hurt by it, and like, upset by it and saddened by it. You got to not let it get you down, right? You just got to do your best for your clients. Obviously, you have your duties, your fiduciary duties, but it goes beyond that for me. Like, again, this comes back to being a Christian. Like, I truly want what's best for my clients, even to my own hurt, my own sacrifice, and my own detriment. But even with that attitude, still sometimes it doesn't go well. And so you just got to get over that and stay humble, learn from it, and and you got to pick yourself back up again, right? You get punched, you get knocked down, you got to get back up again. Because I'll tell you, from being 48 years old now, that you get punched a lot in life, and you're going to get knocked down a lot. And when you're feeling the best and you're at your most confident, you're primed for a fall at that point, and you're about to get knocked down. So, man, stay humble, but don't give up. And if you feel like you can't take it anymore, we were talking about this earlier, you got to have something stronger than yourself to fall back on, whether that's, Christ for me, or your friends, or, Twitter spaces, or who knows what it is. Like, find something, some source that you can get to get back up again, and to not give up on life.
I appreciate you for that answer, because I agree that we probably have the hardest job. Everyone sees everyone with the Lambo, they think it's an easy job. But I heard some kid, he was excited. It actually makes me sad. He put a bunch of his grandma's money, it sounded like, into these meme tokens. And I'm like, dude, they're for fun. And it's just like, it's hard to face loved ones after you lose the money or something goes wrong. So that's a great answer. I love it. I've been working on finding my sports, because a lot of people looking at me, Premise, what do you think about this? Premise, what do you think about that? And I'm normally confident, but it's like, dude, but should you be doing this, right? It's like, I got to promote confidence, but at the same time, I got to let people know, hey, I'm doing the best I can. These markets can be dangerous. So I appreciate that answer. That was a really great one. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually saw Shane Hazel up on the audience panel, so wanted to include him in the conversation as well. Glad to have you up here, brother. But yeah, we're just having a casual conversation. I guess you can call it a motivational space. It sort of went from talking about markets to I guess like what's your why and what are some of the hurdles that you've come across in life, and what do you tap into to push forward. I know for myself, I'm sure you guys have heard it before. I'm sure you guys have heard it before. Like a situation that I went through last year, but I took full responsibility for it. Um, I was pretty much almost all in this one stable coin called UST, and so I've been in crypto since December of 2017, right? And built up a good amount. I built up a good amount of wealth, and I was pretty much all in on UST. And I remember hosting a space that day called "Welcome to." It was called "Hello, Sir. Welcome to Wendy's," right? And I was like super super bearish at the time, and like I expected Bitcoin to go below 20K and all that stuff, and I'm like, you know what, dude, I'm in stables. Nothing's gonna hurt me, right? And when UST depegged, like I in 1 hour I saw it go from like not even 1 hour, in like 10 minutes, it went from $1 to 20 cents. Of course, you weren't able to see it on the exchange chart. This was like on chain data, and then like it started bouncing back up when Do Kwon tweeted steady lad deploying capital. But before that, I mean, dude, imagine seeing like your entire wealth evaporate by 80%, and then some guy is tweeting out there, steady lads deploying more capital. And as this thing is pumping, like I'm just thinking about my family. I'm thinking about my mom, my grandma, and my best friend who has rheumatoid arthritis. I take care of her full time. And so like all these thoughts are going across my head. I'm thinking about like, the times where I had two full-time jobs. I had to drop out of college to help out my mother, who's going through some things on her own. But yeah, it's sort of my story. I had to basically graduate high school early to start work, and I had to drop out of school to get another full-time job. And so all those thoughts were racing across my head, and also thinking about my father, who was never really in my life, but like, he did eventually become a millionaire and lost it all and made it back a few times. So despite him not being in my life, that's a story that pushes me, as sick as it sounds. And like I thought, like, is this it? Is it over for me? And once I got out of that, I had to really step back and really analyze my life and figure out that, like, I actually lost myself in this market. Like, all the DeFi analytics, being an on-chain sleuth, trying to figure out like macroeconomics, and I found myself being like a robot. I would just wake up, go on my computer, research, and I kind of lost myself in that moment, and I sort of had a second coming to Jesus moment, and that following summer was really tough, as many people know. It was really tough for me, but I just had to turn back to my roots, really, which is training harder and dedicating more time to God. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and these conversations, man, like, it's good to talk markets, but do markets define you as a person? Like, your character should not be tied around the price of an asset, right? And I feel like it should just be more of a contribution, and I also found myself to a point where I was being surrounded by individuals that would just be like, "Oh, Wabi, when you find an asset that can 10x, right? Just let me know, right?" It's like, am I really am I really just that? Like, are we just denominated on like the trades that you can give to people, right? Like any sort of setup. And I know that's kind of stressful for an individual like yourself, Dr. Jeff, where, clients will just call you being like, "Hey, Doc, why is this asset down? What? Hey, Doc, why is this asset up? Can you sell?" and it's sort of like on both side, on both the client side and the manager side, like sometimes you do have to take a step back. Like when you give your funds to, some like the doctor, right? You're essentially a doctor, Dr. Jeff. Like when you manage money, you're essentially someone's doctor for their retirement, right? Their 401k, what have you. And of course, like you're a doctor by profession as well as a radiologist, so it's kind of like, even double the stress. And then you also have kids, which is like triple the stress. So I admire that more than like, a random tech billionaire that got lucky in the tech boom, in my honest opinion, because it's the epitome of strength and perseverance, and strength is never a weakness, as as I like to say. That's always been my quote. And some of my weaknesses is, you know basically pushing myself to the point where I burn out. Uh, but I always find this fire inside of me within like the same hour, to just get rejuvenated, and it's sort of like supernatural. You know what I mean? I'll say like, man, I'm tired, and then I'll listen to some music, and I'm like, yo, it's like as if nothing ever happened, right? And I agree with what you said, Dr. Jeff. Like, you can have a down year, like really like a murky year, but then, all of a sudden you'll go through something in life that just like rejuvenates you. And honestly, like if I were to say an event that really like, you know, made me pick up my steam again, was probably back in December, when things like in the broader world looked pretty dark. You had people calling for a depression and all that stuff, and I'm like, man, what is going on here? Like, why are people calling for like a meltdown across the globe? And I kind of thought like I kind of thought to myself, what if things aren't as bad as people make them seem out to be? So, um, yeah, ever since December, I've done pretty well, man. I've done very, very well, and looking back on it, I think that was an experience that I had to go through. I think that also helped out my risk management, not only in the financial markets, but also in life. I feel like everything that you learn in financial markets can also be applied, in life. That's all I really had to say. Um, yeah, Dr. Jeff. But I brought Shane up here, man. What's going on, Shane? Great to have you up on the stage, brother.
King, man, it's good to see you again. Dr. Jeff, always good to see you, sir. Hey, I hear what you guys are saying, man. It's been a rough, since 2019 for some people, especially over in the Brexit area. And that's kind of where this all started. No shame in getting in here and talking about some mental health and how to cope and how to be positive with a lot of this stuff. I think that is, probably something we need to do a lot more of. Everybody's got those peaks and valleys, and I will tell you, as a guy that was really kind of like hardened in this through Marine Corps Special Operations, having lived kind of moment to moment, second to second, there's a lot that maybe I can maybe help you guys with, is in terms of taking stock of what you do have, and being able to laugh. First and foremost, like just comedy. If you guys get a chance to laugh, comedy is, and laughter is some of the best damn medicine for any time. It's great for not only you, but if you've got a partner, before you go to bed at night, just flood that brain with serotonin and laugh, and laugh together. It's one of the best and most basic building blocks for building relationships with other people. And I say that from, those guys to my wife, whoever I was with. It was always, try to lighten the mood and bring some levity to it, and it starts to give you some stock of what's going on. Secondly, if you're not religious, like I'm not overly religious, but I am damn near maybe one of the most spiritual people you will meet. And I grew up, in a Christian culture and all that kind of stuff. So it's left its remnants. But if you guys have, if you want to expand that consciousness, I definitely recommend get back in touch with nature, get grounded. And I mean, literally touch the earth, get down and touch grass and sit and be still with yourself and your thoughts. If you can find somebody who's a shaman that can guide you through some psilocybin adventures and some work, I highly, highly recommend that for people who are very strong. And it'll be one of the top, most spiritual things you ever do. And then I guess kind of, during that, in that same sphere, man, if you're praying or meditating, taking that stock of what is good in your life. Do you have your health? Is there water? Is there power? Is there a bed and clean sheets and everything else? Is there clothes to put on your back? I mean, these little things, your safety. Do you have these things? And if you do, man, take stock of it and be happy about it. And it will start to breed a different type of mentality. And I think maybe the last thing I'll say on it is get out and move. Change your diet. Like if you are lethargic, you're not moving, you're putting crap into your body, you're digesting crap, you're taking in all this negativity, this low vibration mental state of shame and fear and everything else that's out there. Man, change that first and foremost. If you have to, cut it off, but get it out of your life and then move. Get out and move in nature, take walks. Walks aren't necessarily the hardest thing in the world, but they're one of the best things in the world for your mind and your soul. So if you can change those things, this money aspect of our lives, like this is literally, at the end of the day, like they're printing more money every day, right? I know they're not printing more Bitcoin every day. And, for the Bitcoin maxis in here, that's kind of a thing. And I think maybe that gives us a little bit of an edge in this space as well, because we're not worried about the money. We're not worried about the peaks and the troughs. We're not worried about that kind of stuff. I know some people are, but if you can simplify that part of your life, it just goes to everything else. So that's, from a guy that has, damn near died, God knows how many times, from just stupid choices and being a young man. This is, a very easy thing to change. It's got to be habit, and you got to do it on a not only a regular, like, daily basis, but sometimes on an hourly basis. Just take a moment, set your clock for 10 minutes to the hour every hour, and when that alarm goes off, step away from whatever you're doing, breathe, maybe do some movements, some push-ups, some squat, I don't know, whatever. Just get your mind right, and then go back about your day. You'd be absolutely amazed at how life changes in practicing these things. Thanks for the stage, man. Appreciate really everything you guys do, and having us up here.
Yeah, no problem, man. Not sure if you've seen us before, but we're Because Bitcoin. We host daily shows pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, and you're free to come on up whenever you'd like. We host shows in the morning Eastern time and the afternoon Eastern time. We'll actually be having another show in just under 3 hours. It's called Market Talk, and we're going to be, discussing all things financial markets. Today with Market Check, it's more about like just, price action going on right now, and Market Talk is more broader. We can talk, all things digital assets and the equity markets and all that stuff, man. So, yeah, welcome up on stage, man. And I do see we have a number of faces that I haven't seen before, but if you guys are enjoying this conversation and all that stuff, feel free to follow the yellow square to my left and turn on bell notifications to keep up with all of our shows. And of course, like Dr. Jeff comes up here when he can. And if anyone else wants to give some closing thoughts, feel free to do so. Dr. Jeff, is there anything else that you want to say? Any departing words before we close off the space, brother?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. I need to bust it anyways, but yeah, it was really fun, you guys. Fun to have a different kind of conversation today too. So thanks for facilitating that, and still love talking about markets, Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff too. So really appreciate you guys. Appreciate that you guys are out here banging this out every day, every weekday. So thank you for doing that and for and giving us a stage as well.
Dr. Jeffrey, if you'll be available this afternoon, we got Market Talk going. Love to have you back.
Right on, brother. Yeah, if I can make it, I definitely will. I always try to at least lurk in the crowd for your show, at least for part of it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Snorlax, anything that you want to add before we close up? Thumbs down. Hagrid, anything else you want to add before we close?
Yeah, just real quick. This was an awesome conversation. I was not, expecting this from our show today. So this was great to hear from Dr. Jeff and Shane and all the guests. So just wanted to toss a question real quick out to the panel. Are we going to see you guys at Bitcoin Miami? Just wondering.
Yeah, I am, but as far as like what am I gonna do at Bitcoin Miami, I don't know. I've never been to a large conference like that. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't really know what to say really, but I'm probably not gonna talk. Like one thing that I won't be doing is I'm not gonna be talking price. I'm not gonna be talking price or anything like that. I think I'm just gonna go in there and eat some good food and hang with cool folks. Like I'm probably not gonna talk markets, probably at all, man, at all whatsoever.
I'm going to be searching for the developers, those who are grinding out there. I will be at the bar taking some shots and stuff. If anyone wants to join me, I will be in Bitcoin Miami. Y'all should come see us. Feel free to reach out, DM, etc. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a good one, I think. Wabi, I can't wait to hang out with Wabi too. Yeah, Snorlax. Me and Snorlax hung out before. Snorlax's a real one.
Man, yeah. DeFi Daniel, I forgot you were up here, bro. What's going on, man? Do you want to say anything before we close off, brother? It's been a minute, bro.
Yeah, I know. I've been listening for an hour or so, hiding behind. No, I don't want to say anything. I'm gonna screw it up and fumble it. This was great, man. I think it was a great conversation.
Yeah, no problem, man. You're always welcome in any of our shows, brother. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close off here, guys. We've been running for like 2 hours and 40 minutes, man. So yeah, guys, the replay of this mega space will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel almost immediately. So if you guys are enjoying this conversation, do me a favor and follow the giant yellow sign to the left. We tweet out things in real time about like what's going on in the markets, and you'll be able to get notified when we go live and any planned shows and all that stuff, and you'll be seeing more of these mega spaces moving forward. So every follow counts, man, and tell your friends and family about Because Bitcoin and what we're doing here, and we're also going to be doing a lot more YouTube content. And as I said, our pinned tweet includes one of our more recent YouTube shows, which we did yesterday with David Hunter. So feel free to check that out. A pretty entertaining individual. And yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in here in one of our spaces. We'll see you on a couple of hours for Market Talk. So take care. God bless you. See you in a couple of hours, guys. Thank you for supporting us.